Hi, I'm Checky Harling and welcome to After Party, the show where I interview sustainable brand founders in their natural habitats. Today I'm joined by the London-based fashion designer, content creator and slow fashion designer Lydia Bolton. Lydia grew up in Cheltenham, later moving to the capital to study fashion design at Kingston University, before landing a job as fashion assistant at House of Holland. Realising she wanted her work to align more with her values, Lydia quit her full-time gig to start her own label, working solely with existing garments and materials, many of which were donated by the charity Trade at the time. She worked at a pub in the evening and a cafe at the weekends while beavering away on her own brand in the day. At the crux of Lydia's brand is a DIY approach to fashion design, whether she's transforming a tablecloth into a miniskirt or remaking a party dress inspired by a designer label. She reminds us mere mortals that there's nothing you can't do yourself when it comes to upcycling the pieces hanging in your wardrobe. For a designer with such a colourful aesthetic, Lydia has a hardcore approach to reworking waste, often incorporating scraps and offcuts into her designs. Her work has gained her a loyal following in collaborations with big brands including Liberty and Nike. When she isn't creating a line of upcycled Christmas jumpers for Lidl or an exclusive collection for the infamous Lime bike, Lydia can be found sharing her knowledge with her customers at her Sell-Out Scrunchy workshops and creating her Easy Upcycle video series. She proves that sustainable fashion is about collaboration, not gatekeeping. Welcome to the After Party, Lydia Bolton.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to start our chat with taking it back to Cheltenham, where you grew up. So what was your upbringing and how do you think it influenced your work as a designer?
My upbringing was very kind of outdoorsy. We were just outside the whole time, making things, being creative. My mum is quite kind of eco and about the kind of the outdoors lifestyle. And yeah, so I had a really creative, imaginative upbringing and was, really encouraged to do all those sorts of things, which was really nice.
And when do you think you became interested in clothes and how people dress?
I think for me, I always loved being creative and making things. And I think fashion, it was part of that next step of something to do with what you make. So I think it was maybe more from that angle than from kind of how people dressed. I kind of grew up not really thinking about clothing particularly. I was always in hand-me-downs, in my brothers and sisters' old clothes and in charity shop clothing. So I think maybe because I didn't have that much choice with what I was wearing, it was just more about making fun things. And then also I love dressing up. So I'd dress up in my granny's old clothes and stuff like that.
That sounds amazing. What were you dressing up in?
There was definitely a phase where me and my sister were Sound of Music inspired. So my sister would dress up as the guy in it and I would be the one of I can't remember. I don't remember their names, but the lady, and I would wear silk gloves and there's funny photos of us. And then kind of anything, we would dress up as anything that we could and make up characters and then do little plays and stories around whoever would be dressed up as.
I love that era. I feel I was always dressing up and putting on a play.
Yeah, exactly. Always putting on a play, always just imaginative stuff. And now being older, you see how that is being really creative and you didn't at the time.
Nice. And you touched on your mum who still sometimes helps you to this day. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so my mum is I always say she's my eco inspiration. She's she's the most environmentally determined and committed person I know. She's so eco with everything she does. She's always trying to be better and reduce how she consumes and how she lives to kind of benefit the environment and live in a more harmonious way. But she's also really into sewing. So she was one that taught me how to sew when I was 13. So a lot of what I do kind of all links back to her. So then it's really nice when she can help me.
So what did you start to sew when you were 13?
When I was 13, it was a little shift dress with big gathered sleeves.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was great. And it was the first thing I made. It was blue with kind of peachy swirls.
Sounds gorgeous.
Yeah, it's great.
It's giving costume, isn't it? Perfect for the plays.
Yeah, good for the plays. Yeah, I did wear it once, I think.
And then when do you think you decided you wanted to be a fashion designer?
I just always, since I was little, that was always what I wanted to do, which was why my mum taught me how to sew. She's like, if you want to work in fashion, you have to learn how to sew if you want to be a designer. So yeah, when I was like 13, 14, she taught me how to sew. So yeah, always wanted to work in fashion and be a designer.
And then these days you describe yourself as like a slow fashion designer. What does that mean to you?
I think it's kind of acknowledging that you're not working in the same way as like how traditional design and fashion is. I think it's the way that I work is a lot slower, and like my approach to things is a lot slower. Kind of, I'm not trying to be a designer and have a brand in the same way that previous brands have existed. So I think that's kind of why I use the label slow fashion designer, because it kind of makes it clear from like the start that like the work that I do is different. And is having a different approach, which is, not as fast as like so many, not even fast fashion alone, but just the entire fashion industry is so fast and quick. So it's kind of like showing that you've taken a step aside from that.
And when do you think that your work and like sustainability became important to you? You've touched on your mum, she was probably a big influence, but...
Yeah, so I'd always grown up in this eco environment, but it didn't have that label. Like I didn't know that I was growing up in like an eco environment. That wasn't until like a lot later when I look back and it was like, oh, okay, now that it has that language. That was just kind of like how you grew up. Like it was always like secondhand clothing, always in charity shops. Like there's a bin for everything, but like basically everything is reused before being put in the bin. So that was just, how I was brought up. And then when I was a teenager, I was probably, I'd still shop in charity shops a lot, but then I also would shop a bit of like fast fashion, and like when you're young and you finally didn't have to wear like my old siblings' clothes. That was very exciting. And then at uni, again, it was in my personal life. I was trying to be sustainable, but it didn't like match into my career. And then after a couple of years of working, by that point, didn't shop fast fashion or kind of really tried to live in a more sustainable way. And then I heard this quote which really stuck with me, and it was like, as a designer you have a responsibility with what you create. And then it like hit me. I was like, oh, like I have all these personal values, but I haven't connected them into my career. But I'm even in a career where I can make an impact and like can create things which are better for the environment. So it was quite soon after hearing that quote, I think maybe like a couple of months after that, I decided to quit my job and pivot my career to be focused like on sustainable fashion and work out what to do from there.
And you touched on Kingston, so talk about how was uni basically?
So I did my art foundation and then my degree at Kingston, which was so fun. It was really nice. The art school's like by the river, so it was a really nice uni to go to, and I had a really good time studying there. Probably better time on the social side than the work. Like the first few years I worked hard but was not like, didn't love the work. And then in third year where you got to do your own final collection, that I really enjoyed that. And what I hadn't enjoyed in the previous years was doing like the projects for brands. And I think that was because I was not as interested in these industry briefs. But then when you got to do your own work, I really enjoyed it. So that maybe also made me think, okay, I think I prefer doing my own thing than working for people.
That's actually so interesting because now you work with a lot of brands.
Yeah, I know.
So it's come full circle, but I guess you're bringing your own aesthetic
totally
to their universe.
No, it is full circle. Whereas now I quite like brand projects because they give you a brief and you're like, okay, great, I'm just going to do the brief, as in my take on what they're looking for. But that is interesting. But at the time, I didn't enjoy the briefs.
And then what was next? So you went on to the world of work.
The world of work, which was a slow start for me. So I left uni, moved to North London, didn't have a job, and was like, okay, knew it would most likely be interning. So started interning and then worked in the pub in the evenings to obviously pay to live. And then slowly after, how long for? Almost a year of interning, maybe a full year. One of the places I was interning at, House of Holland, I got a job as a design assistant, which was amazing.
And then can you talk a little bit about quitting your job and starting your own brand?
So I worked for a couple of years and then I felt this real need to do my own thing and quit. And then I was just like, am I being really silly? It's taken me so long to finally get a job as a design assistant, and I really enjoyed where I was working. But I was like, no, I think it's time. And also I'd only been, the other side of it, I'd only been working for a couple of years, and I knew I can go back to the pub to pay my bills. So that's fine. I can cover my rent. So I just kind of like went for it, and yeah, knew I would just go back to the pub. So the bills were fine. And well, I didn't know what I would do for my brand. I just knew it would be within sustainability. And so quit my job, went back to the pub, and I did this online.
Was it the same pub?
Yeah, same pub. Yeah.
They had you back.
They have me back. Blackstock, Finsbury Park, have you been there?
Bless them.
Yeah, I mean, bless them. They were lucky.
Yeah, they were lucky.
They were lucky. It's an interesting place. So then I did this online course at the Centre for Sustainable Fashion and learn more in depth about all the different issues within fashion. And the main one that kind of really stood out to me was the huge amount of waste, and I could see how I could use my skills as a designer and a maker to like make a small solution for this waste.
Amazing. And then, yeah, what was it like when you were setting up? Like, how did you source your materials? What was like the very initial start of Lydia Bolton?
So again, it was very slow. It was very slow to get going. Like, it took me so long to understand, I guess, from more like how to have like more of a brand. I just come from like design, and I enjoyed making things. So the start was someone messaged me, and they're a singer and they wanted an outfit for their like BBC introducing performance at Glastonbury. And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to make this for you, but I'm only using secondhand textiles now. Is that okay with you? And they really liked that idea. So that was the kind of like the starting point, which gave me a bit of purpose for what I was going to make. So I made them an outfit for their performance, and I went to trade. I just was sending emails. I was like, okay, I don't really want to use clothing that can be bought in charity shops. I'd rather use clothing which can't be sold. So I sent some emails and went to the warehouse, trades warehouse, and then would take things off the area of stuff which for whatever reason it was marked, it was damaged, it was stained, they did think would be able to be sold. And then that when I started, that was the materials that I used to rework. Real experience. It's changed now because this was like almost 6 years ago, but when I was there it was like this long conveyor belt, and you kind of, they would sort things, people higher up on the conveyor belt would sort things into different categories, and then I would just like wait to see what came to the end. But it's just all of these things, just this scale of clothing is overwhelming. And then wash things and then unpick it all, and then restitch them together.
It's such a process.
I mean, even going to the place, going to trade, getting all the stuff, lugging it all back on the overground and the trains, like even that in itself is like a lot before the washing, the unpicking. It's laborious.
It's dedication.
Yeah, but someone I feel like the unpicking and that time kind of is the craft, because obviously that craft is about things that it's a skill and it takes loads of time to do. So for me, like that's the upcycling craft.
Process evolve? Like, what does it look like today? Because that was back in, when did you start your brand?
2019.
Yeah.
So I do still go to Trade Warehouse and get stuff from them, but I also get stuff from loads of different places. So it might be brands get in touch with me, like in these books, in that lower box behind me, all that stripy fabric. That's all swatches from brands. So like brands will send me like their unwanted fabric and their swatches, or I'll use like eBay, Facebook Marketplace if I'm looking for something really specific, which is harder to find.
So can you give us an example of that?
So if like
Would it be like the horses, or
the horses,
like something specific that you've gone to, I guess, an online store?
Yeah, I think this check fabric.
Yeah.
The check fabric, or maybe, I think the horses came from eBay. And also like this green gingham is from Renee Materials, so like the secondhand reuse hub. So all different places now, which is really nice. Yeah, it's really nice that it comes from all different waste streams. And also if people know that you take stuff that they don't want, so many people are like, oh, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. So like opens up a lot.
You become like a dumping ground for mates.
Yeah, exactly. Like people always messaging me like, oh, I have this item, but I don't want it anymore. Do you want it? And I'm like, oh, have to start saying no sometimes.
It's going to get overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Yeah, I need some room to work too.
And in terms of like how that financially works, still like when brands donate to you, are you like buying it off them? Is it like different every time?
No, if they're giving me materials, they just give it to me. Yeah, and I mean, I do think it's good. I also feel like they'd incur costs, even just sending it to landfill, like waste disposal. And if they were to recycle it responsibly, that would incur more costs. So I feel like I'm actually
you're the best source.
I'm a cheap option.
So I wanted to talk a bit about brand collaborations, because you've done many, right? You made Christmas jumpers for Lidl. You made a collaboration with Lime Bike. Yeah, talk to me a bit about the stuff that you've done with brands.
Yeah, so the brand partnerships, they started quite early on within me working with secondhand textiles. Actually, I think it was in 2019, but it didn't come out till 2020. Someone from Nietzsche, the streetwear brand, they got in contact and they knew what I did. So that was like my first experience of a brand partnership, and I made a little capsule collection from their defected stock, and that was really fun. And it kind of showed me brands have so much waste, like I knew they did, but actually like there's a real benefit to the brand, like creatively working with independent creatives, kind of like what I did, that then they can create something quite fun. So kind of knew from quite early on that it would always be an interesting route to go down. So yeah, that was how it started. And then I've been really fortunate to have quite a few, and they're always so fun. And they give you a brief, and it's really interesting trying to apply the way I work. So obviously always reusing secondhand textiles and like my design aesthetic, but working with the brand and it fitting for what they want to achieve and also like for their customers. So there's like a lot of things to balance, but it's really interesting.
Nice. I feel like there's also like two buckets of like the brands that you work with. So there's like the Nikes, etc. And then there's also like Lidl and like Lime, which is like really unexpected.
Totally.
Could you talk a little bit about those two different pockets?
Yeah, I love the unexpectedness. I think like something that I really like within design is like the juxtaposition of different aesthetics, and like I feel like these collaborations are like the epitome of that. Like they're so unexpected, slightly random, but in my mind really work. So the Lime one, which was, they wanted to do a recycles collection, so it was all about creating clothing which helped break down the barriers for why people might not want to cycle, and obviously all upcycled. And we went to Trade Warehouse and took loads of different stuff from Trade, and it was all about creating pieces which helped people with them jumping on a bike. But obviously, like with a Lime Bike, we get on it, we do our ride, and then we get off. So you're not wearing kind of like your neon yellow cycling jacket, like you're wearing your outfit. So everything needed to be quite transitional with how people use Lime Bikes. So it was a vest jacket which had like reflective lime wedges on it. So then it was like, it's reflective, so there's safety, but it's still a vest or an item of clothing that you'd want to wear post-cycle. And then we did some patchwork shorts, which were like fold up in a little bag. So if you're wearing a dress or a skirt and you're less comfortable cycling, you can pop on your shorts, and then they fold up really small. So then you can, put them in your bag after and still get on your bike with whatever your other outfit is. And then the other one was a long coat, and that zipped off to be a short coat. And again, like long coats getting caught in the chains.
So good. I love that.
It was so fun. It was a really good project to do.
And Lime Bikes are just everywhere, aren't they?
I know. So we did that in 2023, and I feel like it was on like the cusp of them, like everyone going a bit wild for them.
Yeah.
So it was like a really cool time.
And the Lidl Christmas jumpers, that's also an unexpected one.
Yeah, that one was also really interesting to do because again, it was for different people. So we had Lidl, and then it was also with By Rotation. And By Rotation were launching Lidl's Christmas jumpers on their platform so people could rent them. So obviously Christmas jumpers, there's so much waste. By Rotation, perfect solution, you can rent the jumper. So they were doing that partnership, and they wanted me to create some upcycled, really fun jumpers to kind of like supplement it and go alongside. So I was designing for the by rotation customer, thinking about, okay, what Christmas jumper would they want to rent that is also like linked to Lidl? So it was really fun, like balancing all those different potential customers. And then we made these 3 quite over the top Christmas jumpers, which are inspired by Christmas icons.
So good.
Thanks. So the blue one had long fringing on the sleeves, and that was like to do with like Elton John. And then there was a red one with like off the shoulder velvet bows, and that was about like Mariah Carey. And then there was a yellow glittery sparkly one, which was to do with like Leona Lewis and like her like the gold sparkly dresses that she's worn.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then Nike, you've also done like workshops with them as well as working with their dead stock.
Yeah. So with Nike, I've done 2 different workshops. We did upcycling football jerseys, and then we also did cushions like this.
Gorgeous.
Which is very cute. And so they were both workshops. So it was both, they gave me the defected stock. I kind of like prepped it all so it would be ready to go in the workshop. And then in the workshop, Nike community would come along and learn how to do some sewing, learn how to do some upcycling, and then make their own thing.
For people who don't know what defected stock is, could you explain?
Yeah, so defected stock, it could be an item that maybe was used on a photo shoot and it had like some markings on it and couldn't be sold for that reason. Or it could be, with Nike, they have like quite a few things in their store, like where they do like screen printing and stuff like that, or like heat transfers so customers can get things personalized. It could have been something like that had gone wrong and been messed up, or it could have been another item from a photo shoot where they kind of were like creating a different look and then for whatever reason couldn't be sold, or things that are just generally marked and stained.
Okay, nice. And are there any brands that you'd love to collaborate with that you haven't yet?
I don't have a specific brand, but it's like brands like Lime and Lidl. It's this kind of like not necessarily in fashion category where you can create something really interesting and exciting. So I think I'd like to do more work with brands like that, and create things that are a bit like unexpected and interesting.
Yeah. And is there anyone that you wouldn't work with from maybe a sustainability point of view, or?
Yeah, I wouldn't work with ultra fast fashion brands. Like for me, that doesn't make sense. Although I like my kind of approach to working with brands is that like it's about meeting them where they're at. So there's just, so much waste, and like I can help provide a solution and also just start conversations with people that are maybe less inclined and know about sustainability. A lot of the workshops I do, it's often with people that don't know so much about sustainability, and then you're like, okay, this is actually really important, as opposed to just always being in like quite an echo chamber. But yeah, ultra fast fashion would,
And explain to people what ultra fast fashion is, because some people might not know the difference.
Yeah, so I'd say fast fashion is kind of like brands like Zara, Primark, kind of like high street brands that you will kind of would think of on the high street. I'd say that's kind of fast fashion. Ultra fast fashion is like Shein, Pretty Little Thing, all of that, where they just have hundreds of thousands of items a year. Like, so much waste, and it's really, really inexpensive and really bad.
So on a slightly different note, should we have a little look at some pieces from your Delhi series?
Delhi series?
Yeah.
Yes. This is one of my favourite ones.
So good.
So
Who
good.
doesn't want to wear pizzas?
Exactly. Who doesn't want to wear the mixed meat platter? And some quiches. So this is made from Asda's tablecloth. Oh no, Asda tea towels.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I found them on eBay and I was like, I'm obsessed. It's so
good.
So cute.
Big old cheese balls.
Exactly. Scotch egg. Is it Scotch egg? No. What's that? Mini pork pie.
And there's another one there as well.
Yeah. And then there's another one. Sorry, these could have been iron better. One of the apple ones.
Very, very cute.
Yeah.
And these have been a bit of a hit, right?
Yeah.
People love these.
People do love the fruity shirts. Yeah. And then I also launched this shirt as a pattern that people can buy so they can make their own at home as well, because it's just a good shape for a summer shirt.
Nice. And on the collaboration note, should we have a look about the piece that you did for Liberty?
Yes, the Liberty one, that was really fun. That's this one.
So what was the brief? It was
the
wicked,
brief,
wasn't it?
Yeah. So this fabric was designed by their team for their partnership with Wicked, which they did in December. And then my brief was, I could make anything I wanted. The brief was really open, but I wanted to make something that was like really inspired, that I felt was like inspired by like Wicked costumes and like what they kind of wear, kind of like the cinched waist, like the frills, the ruffles, like whimsical. So I kind of like, I thought that would be an interesting take to use the fabric.
So good. Did you enjoy the film?
I still need to see it.
Oh no!
I know.
Don't tell anyone.
I know. I did loads of research into it, like all the tulip fields being planted.
Yes, the Architectural Digest.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done loads of research into it. I just still need to watch the film. It's on my to-do
I
list.
would recommend. And then also knitwear is a big part of what you do.
Yeah, should I get in it?
Yeah.
This is one of my cardigans.
Oh, and I'm sporting one
And you're
today.
sporting one. The new mini ones. And this is one of the large ones. Yeah, so these are all made from knit swatches. And swatches are small pieces of fabric that the knit suppliers will create, and then they go out to brands with it. So there's like huge amounts of waste within, I mean, all of fashion, basically, loads of waste. But in this one small area, there's so much waste.
Okay.
Because all the brands get all these swatches from different textile suppliers and different knit suppliers. Then they use those swatches to kind of decide what fabrics to use in their collection. And then after a few seasons, they're just all chucked in the bin. Yeah.
Nightmare.
But they are still obviously a valuable material.
Yeah. And even that back panel, was that something a bit bigger? Because that's kind of bigger than the swatch, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the swatches are all different sizes.
Are they?
Yeah.
Can they be this large?
Yeah, that's a swatch.
That's amazing.
Some of them are quite large. Some of them are a bit more like A4 size.
But you would have thought if they were just doing like a test that they'd make like a small...
Well, I think they probably make quite a lot of the a reasonable size test and then cut it up into loads of pieces and send it out to loads of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also like deciding colourways. So I feel like it's the sort of thing that maybe like will reduce some time with like all the digital side of fashion. But at the moment, so much waste within it. And then they make really cute one-off cardigans.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
And so how did that come about in terms of like linking up with the knit suppliers?
I get like everything happens quite organically. It was one of those I made. I don't have it. It's folded up in that. Can you see that box? That like white and pink one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah. So I made that cardigan, which is made from knitwear, like actual, not from swatches, but from knitwear. I made that in like 2020, I think. So I made that ages ago, and I really enjoyed what it looked like, and I really wanted to use more knitted things. And just from working in fashion, I knew all the waste within swatches. So I thought I knew it'd be a perfect thing to use for knit swatches and like a really good product. I think like this is just slightly going off on a tangent, but like when you upcycle, you kind of have to design and think differently. So you kind of think, okay, what products would work really well with that certain waste stream? So I knew the cardigans would be a good solution, and like the swatches would turn into the cardigans quite well. And then I had an intern and we became good friends, and she moved on to work at a knit supplier. And it was at the same time, and I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I really want some knit swatches. I'm going to text her and ask. And then, so randomly, she messaged me and was like, hey, I don't know if this is interesting for you, but we've got so much waste with these swatches. Like, do you want them? And I was like, that's great. I was about to message you and ask the same thing. And then, so that was how I started getting quite a lot of them. Then made some content about having it. And then other people see the content. And then like loads of brands sent me their waste.
That's what you want though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Within reason.
Within reason, yeah. Yeah.
And you touched on your design aesthetic, and obviously sometimes you've only got so much of a material, right? So how does your design process work? Are you working from the material, or do you start with a really clear idea of what you want to design?
No, never with too much of a clear idea, because I really let the textiles inform what I'm going to create, because you you can't really create in the same way. Like, you can't really design whatever you want and work backwards. You can, because you're just so restricted by material and like the size of the material and how best they stitch together to create the fabric and everything like that. So I kind of let the textile inform me. I'll have a loose idea of what like I might be making depending on like the season, or like if I think, if I would say want to make cardigans or something like that. So I'll have a loose idea, but generally I really let the textiles inform how the process goes.
And guide the way, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And how would you describe your design aesthetic to somebody who wasn't familiar with your work?
I would say it's colourful, playful. I'd say it's got like a gentle retro to it. They are quite like retro-y pieces, but not extremely. They're all quite like easy to wear pieces. I don't know if everyone can see this, but I always feel like there's a slight sporty influence and like a slight kind of like, casualness to most things that I make, and like sportswear, not performance wear, but like just that like slightly sporty clothing is like personally what I'm always like quite drawn to. So I feel like there's a nod to that, though I don't know if everyone would know that if they weren't me.
And how would you describe your customer?
My customer, I have a real range of customers. So I've got customers who want to make things themselves, which is like why I do like patterns, so they can make things themselves. And then I've got other customers who don't want to make things themselves at all, who maybe want to come to a workshop, but maybe they don't even want to come to a workshop. They just really like kind of fun, colourful clothing that's unique, that they can wear in different ways, that's not like super trend based, so they can have it for a long time, and they're environmentally conscious but also like wearing fun things.
And something I'd like to have a look at actually is the horse jacket.
Wait, there's two.
So I feel like we should talk a bit about you working with scraps as well.
Oh yeah, so this one is the scrap one.
Yes, because you really try and
it's not actually finished at the bottom, so let's not look too closely.
Because you really try and incorporate like everything, right?
Yeah.
So like scraps will get made into scrunchies, or like this jacket.
Yeah, exactly.
Really fun.
Thank you. I'm really conscious with my own waste, obviously. So it has like various stages that it goes through. If they're like big enough scraps to use, which all of these were, then I could patchwork these all together. And this is also waste from like a long time. I keep things for a really long time. These fabrics were from like 2020 or 2022, so I keep everything for as long as possible to try and give it the best chance of being reused. And then if it's not large enough to be used and stitched together, then it gets shredded down by Fibre Lab, who are in the same area as me in the studio space, and they shred it down into like tiny little scraps, and then I use that either for stuffing for cushions or for stuffing for my charms in my charm workshop.
Amazing. Should we have a look at this? Is that the stuff?
Yeah, that's it over there.
Love it.
Yes, this is, you can see it, all of the little scraps that have been shredded down. And then, I thought it looked really cool. So put it in my plastic cushion.
So those will get stuffed into your charms?
Yeah, so we use
them.
We have a charm. We've got some charms over here.
Really cute. So that'll go in the stuffing.
Yeah, so that'll go in the stuffing in there. And then I've also got some plain ones over there, which could just be like cushion inners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I'm always trying to be as circular as possible within my own work, and have everything as, I wouldn't say I'm 100% zero waste, but like with it like as low waste as I can be.
Then I wanted to talk about content creation.
Yeah,
that's almost become like a second arm of your business. It really has, and you're a bit of a content queen.
Thanks.
So how did that come about? Did you just start documenting like what you were doing, and it sort of grew from there?
I think literally how you said in my intro, like my approach is so DIY, and I just didn't know how else to start a brand. Like it just was always going to be really DIY because it was so DIY. Like it was literally me over the pandemic, like me sat on the floor in my bedroom, like filming it, like doing social distancing kits, and it just was always so DIY that I didn't know how to be polished, basically. So that was just always my approach. And then people connected with it and like really always said that they liked seeing the behind the scenes. So I was like, well, and there's no other scenes to see. So it just kept going like that. And yeah, so that's kind of just always kept up doing the content. And I always wanted my brand to be kind of like informative, so people kind of understood why I was doing the upcycling, and like, yeah, educational, kind of like being able to learn things from me, as well as at that stage, like buy things or whatever it was. I wanted it to be more like holistic than just like a product-based business.
And obviously you've worked with brands as well on content, right?
Yeah.
Who have you worked with in that space?
I've worked with quite a few brands doing content. I've worked with Damson Madder, with Keen, with Wool and the Gang, with Reskinned.
And you're doing the Easy Upcycle series, which I absolutely love, which is kind of, how would you describe it? It's sort of a behind the scenes tutorials, right?
Exactly. So like showing people how to upcycle themselves has always been like a key part of what I do. So like I just said, like in the pandemic, I did these DIY kits so people could make stuff at home. And then over the last year, I've been doing this Easy Upcycle series. And that's like to show people how that they can make things, or have a like instructions on the steps for how they can do it, and then a little video so they can follow along. And part of it is that the hope that they might make that product, but also just to kind of like really inspire people and show like there's so much that we can do with all the stuff that we already have, and like hope that people feel encouraged and inspired to like look at their wardrobe and their unwanted clothing differently.
Do you have any we could see? I know you've got that suit dress one that you made.
Yeah, these were part of the Easy Upcycle. Although I'd say this is on the less easy side, because there was a lot of stitching.
Yeah.
But then also like a more easy one could be something like this.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Like this shirt, and like this I got from a charity shop, and then it's just doing embroidery on the top, which is really straightforward. And then you also like just get something that's way more fun and way more unique. So I think like these things don't need to be complicated.
No.
And I always feel like sewing kind of is just practice. So obviously I've had lots of practice, but like I think other people should just give it a go, because you don't need to be scared of it. And the more you practice, the better you get.
Exactly. And that leads us on quite nicely to workshops.
Yes.
Which is a big part of what you do.
Yeah.
And like the scrunchy workshops, they sell out, it's huge.
Yeah, it's really fun. I had no idea they'd be so popular. When I started them, I thought like they would just be cute and fun. But then, they just like for a year and a half have almost consistently always sold out. But yeah, they're really fun. And again, it's just that skill sharing side that is like really core to what I do. And so I do lots of different workshops, some with brands, either for their communities, like with these Nike cushions, that was for Nike's community, or for corporate workshops, so going into the brand and showing their employees how to make and repair. So it's really good.
So what do you think you love about teaching people? Because obviously there's the DIY, easy upcycles, but also the workshops, like you're teaching people in so many different ways.
Yeah, I think with the in-person teaching, it's all about the connection. Like it's so nice to meet different people, like either from my community or from other communities, and just really like chat and connect with them. I think when you make stuff, not only you are connecting more to the material, but like it's that connection with other people. And when you're concentrating on something, it's kind of easier to chat. It kind of facilitates it more than like if you're at an event where you're just like, it's just about like, I don't know, like having a drink. Whereas actually when you're making, there's something about that process which is quite mindful and helps like facilitate conversation. So it's the connection side of it. And it's also just, it's just really fun doing different creative things with people and helping people see that they can do it too. Like most of the people that come to the scrunchy workshops haven't used a sewing machine before and don't know how to sew. And they always start like, oh, this is going to be hard, or like, I'm not very good at sewing. I'm like, yeah, you are. It's good. It's going to be okay. We can do it. And they're always so...
Like, you can do it.
Yeah, exactly. You can do it. And they're always so proud and happy with themselves. And that's just like 2 hours. And they've learned how to use a sewing machine and left with something that makes them feel really good about themselves. So I think like it's really nice to be able to help facilitate that for other people.
Yeah, you probably leave feeling like really good about that as well.
I do. I leave every class being like, oh, that was so nice. Like everyone who comes is honestly so nice. And I feel like I sound like strange saying that, but they're all like, I leave and I get home and I'm like in a great mood.
Yeah.
Because I've just had a really nice evening with 5 to 6 strangers.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's also nice when you're working here alone to just have people come over.
Yeah.
And to have like that social aspect of your work as well.
Yeah, totally. And like just they sit with fresh eyes because you're in it day to day. And then when people come around, I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Like, this is your full-time job. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of crazy. It is cool. So it's like that kind of like fresh excitement, which once you've done something for a while, you can lose a bit.
Yeah. And is there anything that you're like really keen to do? Like, what are some of your goals?
Goals for the brand. I'm really happy with how it's like set up. Like it's got products, it's got workshops, and it's got brand partnerships. So I feel really pleased with how, and I feel like at this point they're all fairly established. So I'm really pleased with like the establishment of those 3 different channels. And I think for now it's just about like continuing to grow them all. And at this stage I want to grow all of them. So it's just, I don't want to give any of them up or kind of have to pause on any of them. So it's just about, my goal is just to continue all of them to be flourishing.
And how do you split your time between those sort of 3 pillars?
Yeah.
Like, what advice would you give to people as well that wanted to do something similar?
I would say, to start with, I would focus on one thing. Like, so I started with the products and then I kind of added in the more like the workshops and that sort of side, and then kind of the content and like the brand partnership. So I would say to start with, kind of get really confident and comfortable and established in one area and then like spread out, because otherwise it's really overwhelming. And I'm not sure I would have been able to start all 3 at once and them all become established, I think, because it just takes time. And how do I split my time? Just kind of whatever's urgent. Yeah, that gets my time.
What's the top of the list?
Yeah, exactly. Who needs something? Like if I'm working with a brand or doing content for something, who's the top priority? That gets done, and then move on to the next top priority.
And my final question is, if in theory the world were to end tomorrow, what would you be wearing to the after party?
What would I be wearing to the after party? Well, definitely something I've made.
Yeah.
And the things that I've made that are kind of like my favourite that I also just really like fit with my natural style is probably something like this, like little sporty jacket with maybe like a little preppy skirt. So we've got a mix of vibes going on.
Lots of patterns, something cute. Gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of patterns. And then maybe like a scrunchie or like something fun and or a sparkly bag. Like a fun.
Perfect.
Yeah, lots of things which maybe are a bit random together.
Amazing.
Oh, that was so fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.